Hello and welcome to the channel. And today's video is going to be a work in progress video update on this new project that I've been wanting to work on basically since about last year. Um, it's basically what actually got me into start getting into Marvel Legends in the first place. I wanted to do a Moon Knight based off of the artwork of Stephen Platt. Uh, for those who don't know, uh, who didn't collect comics back in the 90s, Stephen Platt was an artist that worked at Marvel and became popular around 1994, 95. And we'll get into him in just a second because I do have some images that I want to show you. But this is basically the work in progress after I purchased some parts to make the figure. So this is basically the Frankenstein put figure put together of what I how I'm gonna get my Stephen Platt Moon Knight custom. The majority of the body, from the torso, the what was this is the deltoids or whatever, the shoulder muscle, the biceps, uh, the midsection, the thighs, knees, upper lower legs. All of this came as from a Captain Britain figure. I don't know what wave he was released or what year he was released, uh, but when I initially was going to search for the Sentry figure, the first Sentry that was, well, maybe not the first, but the one before that we got right now, that released a year or so ago. The Sentry that I was looking for released almost 5 years ago, but he had the body style that I knew was gonna work for this custom. Um, but I eventually found the Captain Britain at a cheaper cost, and I bought that figure instead. The majority of the figure is, well, not the majority, but part of the figure already has white, but I'm already in the process of priming, and I'm still gonna have to paint the whole figure white anyway. But um, but I just wanted to show this image of the figure as it is, or as it was when I first put all the pieces together. So the majority of the body is from the Captain Britain figure. I'll post an image of the figure that I got, somewhere on the screen. And then the forearms, the fists, and the lower legs and the feet belong to a Captain Marvel. Um, Again, I'll post an image of the full figure. He had the right bulk to go with the uh, the larger body, but it would not look so disproportionate. Um, and you'll see what I mean when I'll show you samples of Stephen Platt's work for reference as to what I'm trying to accomplish with this custom. And then the head and the cape come from the Moon Knight figure that released also a few years ago. This one is the version that had the black, I'm sorry, the white suit with black bits with like shoulder armor bits and everything. I didn't need the figure for that. I just wanted the head and the cape, right? Eventually, I may swap out the cape for a cloth cape in the future, but for now, this is gonna do. Um, but mainly, obviously, I just needed the head to work for the custom. And that head just, I know we just got a Moon Knight released, an all white Moon Knight, but this was cheaper to find than, So this is basically how the figure looks. Like I said, so the smaller forearms and the smaller lower legs fit perfectly with the larger upper body. It was a seamless transition from here, from the calf, from the bigger body to the Captain Marvel, and the forearms fit perfectly as well. These are also gonna get a slight augmentation when there are some straps that go around the lower legs and the forearms, so that'll add some bulk. But for the most part, this is how the figure is gonna be put together. So to accomplish my what I'm to get you an idea of what it is that I'm going for. So this is artwork from Stephen Platt from issue 55 of Mark Spector Moon Knight. This is I believe this was his first issue. Um, yeah, this is the first issue that Stephen Platt drew, and he had somebody else do the inks, I believe. Uh, but you can see here, if we zoom in a little bit, you can already see some of those, you know, for us fans, some of those quirks or ticks that Steven had in his artwork. Lots of detail. Obviously, it's very inspired by the image style of that era, although he mishmashed a bunch of other artists. So, so his figures looked even more, um, uh, extreme, to put it in simple terms. You can see here what I mentioned, that he has some rings that go around the forearms and the on the for the boots. So those are going to be sculpted in, and you can see all of that fold, um, all of that, uh, the stretched fabric and everything. That is something that I want to try and accomplish with this custom. That's part of what made Stephen Platt's work so awesome, is all of that hyper detail that we'll soon see in just a little bit in future bits. Another thing that was a trademark of his is how he did the shadowing on the mask, on the under mask. So he has the hoodie, and this part of the figure was all, I'm sorry, the part of the character was always in shadow, while the front part of the mask was in light. If you can see, if we go back, I'm gonna have to repaint that part, the majority of the mask, white, and then just paint over black the bits that look like the artwork. This has nothing to do with Moon Knight itself, but I just wanted to show the level of detail that Platt would put into the work. And you can see here on this figure, this drawing on the top, with all of those folds in the clothing on the pants, right? That would become a trademark of Stephen Platt's work. All of that hyper detail. Again, this is just showing the way he would put the mask in shadow, just the upper portion, and the lower portion in light. So I eventually think what I'm gonna do is go like this, right? Paint everything white, add the black detail, and then add these little highlights to the figure. Well, now we're jumping into issue 56. Again, somebody else is inking Stephen Platt's work. Well, the purpose for this sample was this. I picked this image was to get an idea for the belt. So obviously I'm gonna need something to create the belt, but first I needed to get an idea what the belt looked like. In some instances, it almost looked like a bunch of circles. In other instances, it looked like it was supposed to be like a half moon. In other parts, it almost looked like it had like a cylindrical shapes that would go into the abdomen area, and you'll see what I mean in future work of his. But you can see here, let me zoom in, all of those fold details on the costume. So that's something that I want to try and accomplish with this figure. I have an idea of how to do it. I don't want to say what it is. It's gonna be my secret. I may reveal it in the future, but uh, it does not. It will not involve uh, you know, having to resort to sculpting. Also, you can see here on the forearm a lot of that stretched fabric detail. Mostly all of that is coming from this large, the large vein that we have going across our bicep. That's something that Stephen would do going forward virtually for every character he drew, except for the females. But you can see all of that hyper detail stretching the fabric over that vein. And more of that here. Basically, it's almost like the same image, just, flipped. And this is what I meant about the belt. So now here, it almost looks like the belt is almost looks like a a championship wrestling belt. But you can see now it almost looks like a half moon, or I don't know, whatever you call that moon, when the sun almost starts to form like an eclipse, so we get like the C shape of the moon, crescent moon. I don't know, whatever that is, but it almost looks like this portion is indented, like beveled into and is going inwards towards the abdomen instead of like one flush plane. It looks like this part is beveled. Here, issue 57 of Moon Knight, Stephen Platt is doing his own inks. And then you can see here the hyper detail of all his artwork when he does it himself. You can see it here on Cap. You can see it here on Thor. All of that stretched material over the muscle, right? Even here on the even though this is skin flesh, he drew that all that hyper detail right here on Cap, and all of this is mostly just shadowing. It's not a stretched fabric look, but his famous Spider-Man that he drew, inspired by McFarlane, and then here we get Moon Knight. So again, all of that stretched fabric going across that large vein on the bicep, all of the stretch fabric over the muscle definition, right? Right here, particularly these little triangle shapes, and right here on the rib cage, on the abdomen. You can right there in this portion right here in the center, all of these little triangle ticks, right? All of that detail is something that I want to accomplish with my custom. Here again, you see that belt. It's almost like that C shape. Uh, but then again, look at all of that detail of that stretched fabric. right here on the shoulder muscle, and then as we get lower into the groin area, all of that stretched material. So again, just more of the same. And then this is from issue 60, the final issue of Moon Knight. Again, just all of that hyper detailed by the groin area, the biceps. Again, that large vein going across the bicep. Right there, you can see it how right here on the bicep how it he drew those the definition there by breaking up the line that represents the vein, but with these little black ticks, you could see that the mind leads you to believe there's a large vein right here, right? And then that belt that looks like either a full moon, half moon, but it almost looks like it's indented, beveled into a second plane, right? Or is it all just flat? So that's what I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm going to accomplish that. Again, just more of that hyper detail. You can see it right there on the arm. Look at all of that. So that's stretch fabric, stretch fabric, stretch fabric, stretch fabric, all of that, all of those little um, marks are something that I want to do for this custom. And again, just the look of that image in black and white. So basically, let's go back. Yeah, so that's basically what I want to do with this custom. I've been wanting to do this Moon Knight figure for a while. I just didn't know if I was gonna use Marvel Legends, if I was gonna use maybe I thought about maybe the McFarlane Dark Knight Returns body because it's big and bulky and it already has a ton of that stretch fabric detail on it. So, yeah, I just it was just something that I wasn't sure how I was gonna go about, but eventually I settled on the Marvel Legends. The pieces were, like I said, cheap to acquire. Um, I just went to, as I've mentioned before, here in TJ, we have like a flea market that's just for action figures, and I was able to source the figures there. So there you go. That's what I've been up to lately. Right now, like I said, the figure has been disassembled. I've been priming some parts, um, and eventually the idea for how to do the stretch fabric. I will mention how I'm gonna go about it, but not yet until I have what I'm gonna use and if it's gonna work. If it's not gonna work, um, I'll mention anyway, but first I want to test it and see how well it comes out. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.